Torres Strait viewers are advised that the following program contains images and voices of people who have died. Barbara McGrady is the lady in the black beanie, quietly capturing the iconic images that document the major events of Australia's urban life and that shapes the history of this country. But what is Auntie Barbara's story? Who is the lady behind the lens?
My name is Barbara McGrady. I'm a Gomeroi Murray-Yinner. I grew up on a big property where my father and my brothers worked, called Wongwee, which is about 20 miles out of Mungandai. When I was a child growing up on this property, I had a curiosity about everything, everyone in the world. The property owner, Mr. Bucknell, used to give my father all these magazines that he had, and my father would bring them home, and because I was curious, I'd want to read them too and look at the pictures and black and white photos, all this imagery in magazines such as National Geographic, Life magazine, Esquire, Playboy, anything that I could get my hands on, because I saw all these great black and white images of famous black people like Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, Malcolm X. In my own country, we don't have images of all these incredible black people because I lived in a white world, so all that was really pretty amazing to me as a child, and maybe that's where I got my curiosity. My mother bought me a little camera when I was about 15, and I was, you know, the family photographer, I suppose. When I was 18, I left Mungandai and decided to go to Brisbane to train as a nurse, and then came to Sydney in 1972. I became urbanised, I suppose, at a young age, and I've been here ever since. I had a bad car accident when I came to Sydney. Because nursing can be a really hard job, I couldn't do it no more. There are a lot of good photographers out there. There are great photographers. Some are my good friends, colleagues, people I've known and worked with, but they don't have the Aboriginal eye, they don't have the Aboriginal experience, they don't know the community like I do, they don't have my perspective. So I go into Aboriginal communities and I can actually feel what I'm photographing. Well, it's my eye, it's my perspective. This is how I see my community, my world. I bring a whole wealth of knowledge, experience, the Aboriginal perspective. That's what I bring to it, and that's what I try to bring out in my images so that other people from all walks of life, but especially Aboriginal people, can identify with, and they could say, yeah, that's us, that's how I see it. I'm a people watcher. I'm curious about everything and everyone. My academic background is as a sociologist. That's how I see the world, that's how I see my world, that's how I approach things with my photography. I think Aboriginal history, my history, it should be compulsory from kindergarten. People should know about this history. A lot of Aboriginal people still don't know their true history, and that's a real shame.
Richer for poorer, what's in holy water these days?
Hey, Barb.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Just come down and have a look at the artwork. I'm nearly finished.
Okay.
So let's go out here and have a look at what we're doing out here. And yeah, just have a look like that. Got it happening here. And working on the
Oh, wow. Cool. Interesting.
yeah, well, there's a lot of building, and I'm trying to get the texture, and it's still, you know, it's only a little bit, but they're big bits, so that's just got to work on it a bit more. Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, so you know, trying my best.
The exhibition that I had recently was part of the Head-On Photographic Festival, which is Australia's biggest and most prestigious photography festival.
She was the hottest thing around when the war was going down. Lived home in
They gave me a featured artist show, which I was pretty chuffed about.
take hold of you, yet so innocent and true.
And it went exceptionally well.
From Samoa, pretty
I suppose the image of Gary Foley when he's opening his jacket to reveal his t-shirt which says Free Gaza,
that picture on the
that is a favourite,
tells it all.
and he's someone who I identify with, who I respect because of his stance with Aboriginal resistance, Aboriginal rights, land rights. We have very, very similar outlooks on just about everything. Anthony's people rang me and said, oh, look, we're doing sparring at the gym, come on down, bring your camera. And it was a big day because everyone had heard about it, everyone turned up, there was a lot of media there. Yeah, it was a really intense sparring session.
Come tomorrow, I won't let it
My favourite image, the one I managed to capture, was Anthony leaning on the ropes with his head down, full of sweat, and he was battered and bruised, but eager to put his title on the line, which he did.
too many times.
I knew it was a money shot straight away because it just had that feel about it. I looked at it through the viewfinder and yeah.
And I won't be so blue if I don't look back.
I met Anthony's father, Tony, in the 70s when he was a boxer. I was a big fan of his. Then watched Anthony grow up and he became an incredible, awesome sporting person, great footballer, and then tried his hand at boxing, excelled at that. Always had a soft spot for Anthony.
Things that are making me pay.
I always feel privileged to be at a protest, a social protest, political protest. For example, the ongoing TJ Hickey protest. This happens every year, the anniversary of his death.
Come tomorrow.
It's been 9 years. I always feel I have to document that kind of protest. It's important, you know, in the broadest community to just let people know in mainstream media what's still happening. They still haven't gotten justice. One event that I did cover that I always wanted to was Dreamtime at the G in Melbourne, and the long walk with Michael Long and the walk to the G. One of my favourite all-time AFL players, and the one who changed it all for Aboriginal AFL sportsmen, Nicky Winmar, was there, and I got a great shot of Nicky Winmar, Michael Long and David Warapinda in the middle of the MCG. I love that I got to meet them. I love that I got to photograph them, and I love that being in the middle of the MCG on that night was pretty special. I've been photographing the Aboriginal knockout, which is one of the biggest gathering of Aboriginal people for a sporting event or any kind of event in New South Wales. It started in the early 70s and it's grown bigger and better since then. It's a really important meet-up gathering for our mob. It's not just about sport, it's not just about rugby league, a modern day corroboree. I was always very athletic. My father was an ex-rugby league player. My brothers played football. I was always into sport. Me and my older brother Barney have been rabid Dragons supporters. But, you know, always had a soft spot for the Bunnies. They're my second team, of course. I have photographed the Bunnies at Fans Day, training, NRL games, and I have my favourite players. GI, of course, Jamie Soward, Nathan Meredith. I photographed my community around Glebe quite a lot, and some street scenes, images around Newtown, the mural at Newtown, the I Have a Dream mural, which is pretty iconic. I can actually feel what I'm photographing. That brings a different experience, it brings a different perspective, because I am part of that community. It was just always something that I had a passion and love for.